This Sunday, January 12th, we will be hosting the largest player-led event in the history of Elite Dangerous. About 1,000 people, as of the time of this video, have signed up, and by the time the event rolls around, we expect to have up to 1,500 people interested, which is a magnitude that we've never seen before, and that requires unprecedented logistics and more organization than our typical and more casual events typically have. So in order to help everybody have the best possible experience, we've created a checklist of things to do before the event, on the day of the event, and during event to make sure that everybody has the best possible experience in such a mastodontic experience of an event. So first and foremost, note that because of the number of people, we need to geo-shard the instance. So if you're in North America, you will be playing in the private group called Anti-Casino Initiative, and your host is going to be Commander Mechan. For South America, you're going to be playing in Coben Butke's private group, and he will be your host. Same for Continental Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Alex MG1 has opened up his private group and will be your host. In the UK and Northern Europe, you will be using the Xenostrike Force private group, and Commander Genix will be your host. And finally, for Asia Pacific, you'll be using Tomcat's private group, and Commander Comcat will be your host. Please join the private group that best matches your region. That will result in a better experience for you, and it will be a result in a better experience for everybody else in the region as well. Note that because of the logistics, we may end up filling up North America and continental Europe. If that happens, we ask that people overflow to the UK and Northern Europe private groups, as realistically having more than 200 people in any given one instance will not be supported. Like at that point, the so-called Braben tunneling times of actually dropping into an instance or going to supercruise start becoming minutes long, and it kind of like makes it impossible to play. So please keep a note of what private group you will be in, and be prepared to send a friend request. Actually, you should send a friend request now to your instance host so that they can have you on their friends list and they can pull you in day of the event, and we can assemble the instance as quickly as possible. The next thing, which is critical, is to confirm that you have Universal Plug and Play enabled in Windows and in the game. This is also known as Network Discovery in Windows and Port Forwarding in-game under Network Options. The Xenostrike Force website has a simple guide that explains how to do this, but in general, from the main menu, you will want to go under Network Settings, which is only visible outside of the game from the main menu proper, under Options. And in here, you want to go to the IPv4 section and turn port forwarding on, like this screen shows here. In addition to turning it on, you have to select a port. It doesn't matter which one you select. You can select any one of them. If in doubt, you can select 5100, which is the default one, but you have to select it. Just turning port forwarding on is not sufficient. You also have to click on the port number. Don't ask me why they did it this way, but that's how they did it. Then you need to apply the settings, quit the game to desktop, go back into the game, and you want to make sure that the settings have stuck, and importantly that UPnP enabled now shows on. If this shows on, and this is what your interface, your settings, network settings look like after relaunching the game, you know that this worked, and you are all good to go as far as network settings are concerned. This is a very important setting in a large instance. It doesn't matter if you're playing solo or if you're playing with one or two other people that much, but if you're playing with 200 people in an instance, you absolutely must enable port forwarding, or the game is gonna suck for you and for everybody who's playing with you, because the inability to connect to you will force the game into relay mode, and when the game is forced into relay mode, all bad things happen in this game, and you don't want that to happen. So please, please, please enable port forwarding as we described here in order to have the best possible experience to all. In addition to that, there's a series of in-game settings you will want to, and now we'll kind of hop back to in-game for a moment, if we're kind of able to hide our web browser for a sec. The event itself will be in the private groups that we just discussed and that are applicable to your individual region, and will be held in HIP 22460, which is a permit lock system, which requires a permit, which is fortunately very easy to acquire by scanning an F beacon in one of the nearby systems. Again, for instructions, look at the checklist that is linked in this video description, and that has been posted pretty much everywhere on social media, Discord, websites, everywhere. But this is a system that we will be fighting at, and in particular, we will be fighting at body 10B, which is right where the bright sentinel is. It is helpful to set up a bookmark to this system, which I've called AA event target, so it comes up at the top of my list, as that will allow you to very quickly select it as a target and jump into this and have it already selected and head to the event proper. Carrier parking spots are available in pretty much all nearby systems. Noting that it's starting to get crowded as people sort of are jumping their carriers into and around the system for the purpose of this event. The fleet carrier of the Xenostrike Force, the Astras, is currently parked in Pleiades sector. Oh gosh, I'll pronounce this. CW/U B32. Anyway, this is a system. This is also in the checklist. So if you don't have your own carrier and you need a place to park, the Astras, let's see if I can find it. Where is it? Somewhere around here. It's one of these 13, I presume. Yes, the Astras, this carrier here, is where you will want to park your ship. And ship, ideally, your ship there in advance of the event. This carrier is not going anywhere for the foreseeable future, so it's there for you to use as a support vessel for this event. In terms of other in-game settings that we ask every commander to follow, it's really, really important that you also turn report crimes against me off, as I'm showing here in your ship panel under pilot preferences, because friendly fire will happen in such a large instance, and we don't want people to be sent out 200 light years to the closest prison megaship if this accidentally happens, as it will. So please confirm that your report crimes against me is turned to off. As you can see from this video, it might take a few seconds for the setting to register, but eventually it will, and confirm it is off. And then also please confirm that your beacon is set to team mode. Sometimes the game sets it to off. I'm not sure why this happens, but it does happen. You want your beacon set to team to be able to have other commanders drop on your wing. And again, this helps build the instance a lot faster as you pull people into the instance and you help assemble the instance proper. Once that is done, we will be heading out to, actually, before we do that, let's actually talk about builds for a moment. So I'll go back to menu since it's faster than going up and down with a carrier. In terms of builds, you want to build, obviously, for this event. The best build for this event is either a Crate Mark II or a Python Mark II with large shards that have been engineered for anti-guardian zone resistance. This is a system where there is a permanent anti-guardian zone field in effect, which means you can only use human weapons, or if you bring guardian weapons, they need to be engineered for anti-guardian zone resistance. Noting that modified weapons, like the ones I currently have on this crate, cannot be engineered. I think I can actually show you that as being the case. Power engine beam laser. It's not even showing me here because I think those weapons don't even qualify. Those weapons cannot be engineered for anti-guardian zone resistance because they count as pre-engineered. Let me see if I have another large shard right around here, but I don't think I do. I should be having, see if I have a non-engineered guardian gauss. this one. The best weapons for this event will be large, fixed Guardian Shard cannons, if you have them. If you don't have them, medium, and not this small one like I have here, which I was just setting up to kind of show you how engineering worked. And I have pinned the, there you go, Guardian module. This is the anti-Guardian Zone resistance that you need to engineer, and this is available at Ramta as an engineer. You need to have pre-farmed hardened surface fragments to apply this engineering, because these materials, hardened surface fragments, are only available from live Titans. So if you haven't pre-farmed them and you don't have any of these in stock, you will not be able to apply anti-Guardian Zone resistance engineering at this time. Caustic crystals, on the other hand, are widely available at the graveyard sites of Titans, which, again, I'll show you where they are in the galaxy map. You just go under the Farway map view, you click on any of the destroyed Titans, let's say Corhio for once. It sends you to the applicable Titan. You can select the Titan in the galaxy map, follow the route, and then head to the graveyard. And caustic crystals are somewhat rare, but they do spawn, and maybe while you're there, you can also pick up on the occasional drive component, which is useful for FSD engineering. So that's how you get the materials for anti-Guardian Zone resistance engineering. The Common Core Crate Mark II is the recommended build overall. If you are in doubt, build a Common Core Crate, which is the ship that I have here. It is very important to bring a shutdown field neutralizer to this event, and probably 2 caustic sink launchers instead of heat sinks. You're not going to need heat sinks very much, but you will need caustic sink launchers nonstop, because there's going to be caustic everywhere. So bring a lot of caustic sink launchers. I don't have one extra here lying around, but you get the gist. I would bring 1 heat sink, 2 caustic sink launchers, and a shutdown field neutralizer. The shutdown field neutralizer is also very important, because for those interceptors that slip through and are not immediately destroyed, they will pulse when they spawn, and they will shut people down in case they aren't covered by one of these things. These have the ability to actually protect not just you, but also people around you in the range of 3 kilometers. Keep in mind, you need to hold these. And ideally, you want a hotkey under controls. I think it's under ship controls, under miscellaneous. Where would it be? Shutdown field neutralizer. You want to map this key, which is not bound by default, to be able to have a hotkey that allows you to use the shutdown field neutralizer. Because these pulses come in fast, and so you want to have a key handy or you can just hold it when the warning comes up, because you're not going to have time to mess with fire groups, change fire groups, and then figure out which trigger. By the time you figure out your fire groups, you typically shut down. So map your fire group, build a very basic muscle memory that allows you to use it instinctively or intuitively. Once that comes up, this is going to make your life a lot easier. So we talked about the build. Now I'm going to use, for the sake of this example, my Titan Bomber Python Mark II, which I don't think I've even modified. I actually brought it back to its original configuration. But if this is to say, if you have a Python Mark II, which is in a Titan Bomber configuration, which this is, with the only difference that I put a beam instead of a torpedo here, and an SFN here instead of a TPN. But otherwise, this is essentially the enhanced signal scanner to see shields and other information. So these are the small modifications I've made to this bomber to make it work as a group fighter or a wing fighter, as we have here. And now let's talk about what to expect and how to think about your participation in the event as we get underway. So ideally you have a carrier around HIP 22460. You'll be jumping into the system. Expect to be hyperdicted. There are still hyperdictions, and they're pretty frequent on the way to HIP 22460. They're not guaranteed, so it may or may not happen, as we show it here, but there's a good chance that it will happen. And as a general rule, as is often the case for hyperdictions, you just want to evade them, don't want to fight them, you want to join the event. So If you do get hyperdicted, just boost away and jump back into the system once again. Now, the good thing is, once you do get into the system, once you get through to HIP 22460, and here we're getting interdicted, we're getting hyperdicted, as you can see from the system being my origin system that it says I'm jumping to, and not my destination. This is how I can tell early that I'm being hyperdicted, by the way. But again, we're not going to be fighting this unless it's a lonely Cyclops. I don't know, we might try shooting it in the face with these shots, because let's see what we got here. This is a lonely Cyclops, so we'll try shooting it in the face. For the sake of go. Oh, I was talking about, I don't have my headphones on, so I didn't hear the shutdown field neutralizer, the shutdown field. And as I mentioned, like, it happens pretty quickly. And this is an example, like, what you don't want to do. So, live demonstration. Now, while we wait to come back online, as I was saying, you're going to be jumping into the system. Once you are in the system, there are no interdictions. Unlike Titan systems, once you are in Super Cruise in HIP 22460, you're safe. Firewoods won't intercept you, won't interdict you. Oh, I kind of lost my shoots here. Gotta skedaddle. Get quickly out of the way. Once you do get through to a system on the other side, you're not going to be interdicted, and it's actually safe in Super Cruise. The Super Cruise environment is actually the safest place where you can be, because once you drop to normal space, interceptors will start spawning around you again and again and again. So stay in Super Cruise while you wait for a wing invite. But let's assume, for the sake of argument, that we've managed to make it all the way here. What we're going to do now is we're going to head to our bookmark system of body. There you go. Body 10B. We can use our Super Cruise overcharge, as it is a bit of a hike of 1500 light seconds. Not a terrible one, but enough to kind of like warrant a little bit of a boost. Once you are roughly in range and you're kind of like on approach, if you want, this is when you want to ask for a wing. How do you ask for a wing during this event? That's where we're going to get back into Discord for a moment. And let me pull up the web page again for a moment. To join and to ask for a wing for an event, what you want to do is you want to go down to the event. So I'm in North America, so I'll be joining the stage of North America. And I will continue without starting, I guess. And what I will want to do is I want to raise my hand. This raise my hand to speak. I kind of put myself up. Raise my hand to speak. Raising my hand to speak is the signal in this event that you're basically asking for a wing invite. When you raise your hand to speak, you're saying, I need a wing anchor for the event in that instance that you are part of. And people in the instance will be monitoring people raising their hand and will be actively send a wing invite, which right now I don't have, obviously, because nobody sent me a wing invite, but they'll send you a wing invite that you should accept so that you are pulled into a team. Once you are pulled into a team, you will want to go and find your wingmates and drop into their instance. This is a dynamically created instance, and right now I can bring this screen down for a moment and see like how we're arriving on HIP 22460. Like, we will be fighting above the Protoss wave site, which is a big flashy green thing, if I can find it, which right now I don't particularly see it. Let's see where it is. It's somewhere around the planet here. Might give myself an SEO boost to kind of get. I might be. Sometimes it's on the light side of the planet. Sometimes it's on the dark side of the planet. So it's like kind of tricky to see. Right? I don't think it shows up as a POI overlook. It's on the other side. Let's give it a little boost. Speed. Let's see if dropping on Overlook actually has an Overlook on the Protoss Wave side, but no, it doesn't. I guess it's because these things are not in synchronous orbit. So anyway, we'll be creating an instance here, and that's where you fight. That's where you kind of like come in, and that's where the fight actually starts, as interceptors will start spawning left and right. Another thing that we ask people, by the way, is we ask people to turn their custom weapon and engine colors off, which you can do in the game, even while flying. You just go here and you disable the active for engine color and weapon color. The reason we ask people to do this is because that allows instance leaders to paint targets effectively. And they'll call, say, green beam on primary target, and that will allow everybody to see a green beam and know that that single green beam is basically the target that we're selecting. And that's a Hydra, by the way, just to sort of welcome and say hello. And again, we're not here to fight, so we'll get the gist. And that's it. The goal, ideally, is to try and destroy everything the moment they spawn, just through sheer and massive firepower. And this time, hopefully, we got the shutdown pulse timed correctly. So if they slip through, we'll still deal with them, but obviously the fight becomes a lot more difficult with just old shards and more limited firepower than modified Guardian shard cannons would allow us to bear. But it'll still work. And this is going to be it. Like, throughout this event, there will be non-stop spawns of interceptors, typically 3 at a time, but considering how large of an instance we have, we might end up having 6 at a time. So if things go smoothly, which they may, or they may not, we'll see, there's going to be a terrific amount of credits to be made. So the goal is to effectively form a blockade above the Protoss Wave site, where we fight off waves upon waves upon waves of interceptor until we've hopefully taught them a lesson and made 1 billion or 2 credits in the process, which would also be nice. So that's what the event is going to be about, just instead of with me solo out here with approximately 200 to 300 people per instance, would be my guess. But we'll see what is manageable, and we'll see how things play out. So thank you for following the briefing. Again, the document checklist is listed in the video description below. We look forward to seeing all of you on Sunday. Glory to Mankind. Come on to Mechan, over and out.